Hello again, friends. Today is chapter 8, Paradise. Now it's going to start getting real, so lock in. Paradise. We probably shouldn't stay long, Samid said. He slipped out of his sandals and took off his component vest. Then he hesitated, looking at it. Shall we wear these? Lanny, who'd been intent on studying the island for several minutes, knew instinctively what Samid was talking about without having to avert her gaze. She'd thought of the same thing a moment earlier, and thus had time to think. Well, the paper components will be ruined, and the clay components will melt in the water and make a mess in our pockets. She turned her gaze to her friends. Besides, I don't think there's anybody living on this island anymore. I haven't seen or heard a single thing. Well, we could bring them just the metal and rubber components with us in case we need them, Megan said, and leave the vests here. Samid nodded. That sounds good. He took out a few scatter clips and dementia spells and slid them into his pants pocket, leaving his vest on the boat seat. The others did the same. Lanny cast the magical anchor spell, as was laid out in the instructions by the captain's wheel, and felt a slight tug of the boat when the waves tried to wash them closer in. Satisfied, she slipped off her shoes as well. I wish we'd thought to bring swimsuits, or at least other clothes to change into later. Megan shrugged and climbed over the side of the boat. We'll dry. She jumped in with a big splash, and when she surfaced, she said, It's all part of the adventure. Come on, you guys. Samid and Lanny needed no more urging. They joined Megan in the water, forgetting to be quiet now and striking out in the cool water toward the shore. When they could reach the bottom, they began wading towards the beautiful sand that sparkled before them. As they neared, they began to run, splashing in the shallow water. Megan collapsed on the wet sand, and Lanny fell next to her, causing Samid to trip over her leg and fall down too. Ah, Megan said, the waves lapping at her feet. This feels good. Little ocean bugs scurried about on the sand, being water lifted to other places without a moment's notice. Lanny wrung her long hair out and playfully slapped Samid in the face with the ends of it. Like this. Watch it, Samid growled, but he had to admit getting to hang around with two creative, smart, talented girls on a beautiful beach was not his idea of a bad time at all. The three of them lounged on the shore, eyes closed. It wasn't much different from lying on the beach of Arteme, but when they thought of the adventure they'd taken to get here, it seemed somehow very special. Suddenly Lanny sat up. Something's weird, she said. Megan shielded her eyes with her hand. What's weird? Samid sat up too. I was just thinking that same thing. It's too quiet, Lanny said. I mean, there's no sound at all since we reached the shore, except for our own voices. No birds, no tree frogs. I can understand. But no noise from the waves? That's strange. Samid knitted his brows. I'm not sure about this place. Lanny looked at him concerned. She glanced at Megan, who had risen to an elbow now. Huh? Megan said. As the three of them looked at one another, they wondered if they should perhaps heed the worrisome grip of fear in their chests and run at their highest speed away from the strangely quiet island. But there was no time to process the thought, for a moment later they each felt a sharp, severe poke between their shoulder blades. Without even a chance to cry out or see what had hit them, Megan, Lenny, and Samid exchanged an identical look of terror before their bodies went limp, and they dropped back to the sand, unconscious. I just realized the book was called The Island of Silence, and they just said it was really quiet on the island because they're on the island of silence. Sounds like a great island to me.